Hello, everybody, and welcome to the first episode of Factions Grinders. A few things before we get started. I'm back on YouTube with a brand new channel, this channel, and it's where I'm going to be doing a lot of factions-oriented stuff, base designs, grinder designs, wall designs, everything like that. Anything that you guys want to see covered, Skyblock Grinders, cobblestone grinders, anything like that. I'm willing to do. Just hit it up in the comments below, and I will try to get as many videos out as possible. I got a lot of free time right now, so we're good. Okay, so basically, the reason I'm starting a whole grinder series is because I have found that a lot of people on factions, they don't know what they're doing when it comes to grinding. A lot of people, they just use manual grinders for a lot of mobs that they shouldn't. They just do a lot of weird things that are inefficient and doesn't really make any sense. So I'm here basically to put out a video on how to build a standard fall grinder that is decently efficient and is really good for starting factions, that isn't hard to build, not really expensive, and it's just overall easy for everybody. So today we'll be doing a fall grinder. The basics of fall grinders is, each chest type, which we use for storing the items, the hopper system, using hoppers, which flows the items into the chest, and then we'll do the obsidian for the build of the actual grinder itself. Now, some grinders, depending on how big your base is in factions, can be very big. A usual one is a standard, like, half chunk grinder, which is about half the size of a chunk, 8 by 8. I believe we have a 10 by 10 in my current faction base on a current faction map I am playing. But some grinders can get up to whole chunks and even 2x2s to 4x4s, which is just an absolute monster of a grinder that can hold a ton of F-top value and usually go inside of 11 chunk by 11 chunk bases, which are absolutely gigantic, and starting factions do not need that big of a base. If you want to build that big of a base, no one's going to stop you. It's just going to be a lot more time and a lot more money for a smaller faction to try to put together. So I'm here to basically show the basics off of a standard fall grinder that is easy to build for anybody. So I'll build about maybe a half chunk grinder. So basically what you want to do is, first off, you'll have your base. Say your base is this 2x2 chunk. It's surrounded, its very edge of the chunk is where it goes all the way up to sky limit. Or it's just a small underground base that only has a specific height for a fall grinder because you're starting out on the start of the world. So basically a fall grinder, they should go in the corners of the base. So like, say this is one corner of the base, the other, other corners. Usually set them up against the walls themselves, but if you want to, you could set it offset and put water over it. It's not really worth it because of all the base defenses that you should have on your base. By the first day, you should have, a decent amount of walls, and you should have a grinder setup of some sort, or even a big farm somewhere outside of your claims that your members can use to start of the world money. So we'll get into this. So first, I guess we can build the frame. So this is the corner. We'll use the corner as a reference. Say, we don't need it that high. We'll go up to here. So this is basically where you want your grinder. So you have your wall of the grinder here, and it'll extend over to maybe here, and then it'll come this way, however many you want it to go, and then you'll come back around, and then you'll hook this up. And there is your outline of where you want your monsters to be falling into. So then from here, you basically want to start on the flow system. So if you come down here and then you put a block here, break that one, set a hopper, then you can break that. Then you can connect all your hoppers up to this flow system. So this flow system is within the chunk. It's extended over one block for extra storage within the chunk. You can have one here, but it's not recommended. And then basically what you do is you connect one here, and then you extend it all the way to there, so it's inside of this block. So what you want to do after this is then just extend hoppers into the back of each other, connecting into the side of these hoppers, so the items will flow from over here, over this way, into these, floats here, then it'll come around this side and flow down that way. So you want to do this for the entirety of the grinder on the inside, not outside. That's pointless. Doesn't do anything. So once you have this completed, then you can start on the chest system, and then from there that's where you're able to collect all your stuff and then sell it. So the way that this hopper system works is everything has to pass through this specific hopper right here. And then the collection can start off of this hopper, extending all the way down. So you don't want to put the chest directly under the hopper, you want to put it to the side and stack that chest up twice, or if it goes down farther, stack it up how many times, and then just connect two hoppers in the back, and any item that falls into this specific area will end up in this hopper, as will be demonstrated here. So it falls in a random hopper. If you give it a second, it'll end up in this chest. Might have to clear out of the chest for it actually to flow through, but we'll give it a second, and then we will open it up, check it over here and there is the stone. So that is how that system works. It didn't flow into this chest, as you can see, even though it's first in line, it flowed into the bottom. This specific grinder design is really simple, and it's super efficient. It stacks from the bottom chests up to the top chests. And then what you do is, did I use trap chests for those? Oh, I did. So then you put another chest here, and then there. So now, if I throw this in again, it still will only filter into this chest because of the way this works. Because the way the flow systems work with hoppers is hoppers pull out of before they push into. So once the item gets through this specific hopper that it must pass through, it has to pass through this one. But since this one is pulling, it pulls it out of that hopper. But this hopper is also pulling, so it pulls it out of there, and then since nothing's pulling out of it, it shoves it into this chest. So once this chest fills, this hopper will fill, then this chest will start filling, then this hopper will fill, and then this chest will start filling, this hopper, this chest, this hopper, and continues down the line from bottom to top on each row. So that is the basic flow system of how they work. And on a fall grinder, you want it really, really tall. So you can fit more. The taller it is, the more spawners you'll be able to fit in, which means the more F-top or IS top for Skyblock. This grinder does work on factions and Skyblock. It works on anything basically that allows you to make money off of it. I usually go with a one-chunk grinder design, but since I'm playing on a faction server that obsidian is very hard, like, it's not hard to get, it's just hard to pay for it because it's so expensive. It's like 300k in inventory. It's ridiculously expensive. Granted, building one of these will probably cost you about an inventory, and it'll make you way more in the long run as an investment, but it's worth building it, smaller. The smaller the better, because a grinder like this is decent size, makes you a decent bit of money in the long run, has a ton of storage on it, doesn't clog every single time you run it, as long as you let it rest for, maybe 20 minutes after you're done AFKing it for a day. Then it should filter out all the items. Because once all these hoppers fill in here from an overflow, then it'll stop collecting, it'll just be losing profit, so it's not worth to be genning monsters in when you could be clearing the hoppers, because it'll keep the hoppers clogged. You can get inside manually and clean out the hoppers, each one by one, taking all the items out of each hopper and then moving them into a chest or selling them. But it's better just to, hop down and off the top of the grinder and let it filter itself out. So the basics of how the distance that you need to have upwards is at least 24 plus. At 24, you can only place one row of spawners. Anywhere above, any numerous more blocks you go upwards, you can start placing more. So basically what you can do is line out the level 24, where if their feet were on, or if, say they were standing here, on the 24th block and then they fell off and they died, that's the distance they will die at if they fall from this distance. So you can put a ring around it so you know what the distance is and then go upwards. I thought it was 21, but apparently it's 24. It might be 21. I'm not sure. But that is the distance where where they fall and die to. So this grinder doesn't. Right here would be the middle with these four hoppers. It doesn't seem to have an odd roof, which is basically what you want on these. So if you put a roof on, preferably out of obsidian because it's harder to break with segs, or on a server like the one I play on where segs cannot break obsidian, it's a really good option where they actually have to cannon in or seg it from the side if you use glass to label what kind of grinder it is. On my grinders I usually use glass, but I always have a protective layer like about 3-4 down that comes down, and it's basically an anti-seg for anything from this level up. So 3 to the roof will be safe from creepers for the most part, unless somebody can get a fishing rod up, which they would need to be flying if your server allows fly. My server does not allow fly. The one that I play on, I'm not sure why, it just doesn't, not even for ranked members. You can design your grinders however you want, put whatever kind of custom walls you want on, or custom shells. It doesn't matter, as long as you can get this standard design going. And then you place your spawners basically. I go 3 out from the wall here, so there's 2 in between, and then a third on all the sides, and then I start filling it in. So this kind of grinder, you won't be able to compact these. You could if you want to do line designs, but line designs aren't really the best. Unlike pillar designs, which go like this. Each stone block represents a spawner placement. So then you could go here, and then you could go here, and that would be basically where your spawners go for a starting spawner. And they fall down here, they die, their items go into the chest system, which would extend all the way, and then you'll be good like that. Another way that you can do a hopper system is with this extra ledge. If you want to make it more compact and more efficient, you can put an entire flow system around the edge, which I like to put flow systems on because it makes it more efficient. It's basically an anti-clog in a sense where it's constantly storing items. Because like with this kind of system, you have to change this hopper to there, but you can have chests lined up all the way to here. So you have chests all the way to here with hoppers extending off of here. But then you skip this block, and then you can put more chests here and extend it all the way around, extend a huge storage system all the way around. That gets very confusing, and you have to basically design the front of your grinder or put a sign somewhere that signifies that it is the side of the grinder that you are grinding on, or that it starts filling up first, because it'll still only flow here, and it'll start filling up here first, or if you extended it off of here, it would fill there first. So on this, you would want a system here where it flows to these first, and then have the other chest system over here, which fills up last. Flow systems are very good because, again, a lot of storage, efficient, anti-clog. Not 100% anti-clog, because the way that these things clog is they only flow through one specific hopper, but they need to because you're also getting random flow. If you had an offset chunk hopper where then you had the storage on this chunk extending that way, and the grinder was over here, then it wouldn't really clog up as much because it's all flowing into one system which flows straight to chests. Those just take up a lot of space. This is the most compact, most efficient way to do a in the chunk grinder that's compact up against the corner of the chunk, and it works really, really well in Skyblock 2. With Skyblock, you can do a lot more things because you have more time, and in factions you don't have that time because you gotta keep on moving constantly, always be doing something at all times. So this is basically the fall grinder. As you can see, it's not too big, very small, very compact, very efficient. Flow system's really easy to build as long as hoppers don't cost $1 billion each. The spawners go up there, and it's just really simple, really easy. So that'll be it for this Factions Grinder episode. I hope you guys have enjoyed, maybe learned something, or maybe you're just here because you forgot how to build a grinder. I don't know. Um, Drop a like, drop a subscribe, comment, hit that notification bell if you're new, and we will see you guys in the next episode of Factions Grinding, which will probably be out tomorrow. See ya.